What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. These are my week 14 waiver wire pickups. If you're watching this show, that means you're in the playoffs like me. Congratulations. Either that or you must really like this show. And if that's the case, thank you. There were some pretty big disappointments last week. Martellus Bennett, I mean, we know he's kind of a hit or miss guy. He was a disappointment. I could say like Devontae Adams, that was a pretty big disappointment. That's a guy who wasn't even drafted in some leagues though. The real fantasy woes though, the big hitters, my top 3 fantasy disappointments from last week. Colin Kaepernick, I benched him in my leagues over players like Winston and Rivers, but I mean, he was still a good start, you know. I would have started him over some players with some quarterbacks with bad matchups, and you know, a lot of people did start him, and he broke a record. I think it was like he got sacked 5 times and threw for less than 5 yards. No other quarterback has ever done that. But he is starting this week again and has a favorable matchup against the Jets, which is my next big woe. The Jets' entire team was a huge disappointment in NFL real life and in fantasy. They didn't give much effort. That wasn't even a football game. I don't even know what I was watching Monday night, but it was not pretty. The biggest number 1 fantasy disappointment from last week has to go to Drew Brees. 0 touchdowns for Brees. Played at home and even threw a pick in garbage time, which did not help you. That's usually -2 for most fantasy leagues. Let's go on to the waivers. Things are starting to really, truly settle down now on the waiver wire. There are some running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends that can help you. Of course, for people that streaming defenses every week, that can help you. But other than that, it's pretty much settled down. I want to still rank my waivers for you guys just in case, you know, and stuff changes all the time. I could just record this video and 10 minutes later something changes. So it always happens. That's why I rank them, just so you know. And it's for people in shallow leagues, 8-man leagues, all the way up to 20-man leagues, and maybe even deeper if you dare to play in what I've heard, the 32-man fantasy football league. They actually exist. I've talked about them before. All right, so for quarterbacks, Jameis Winston is playing the Saints twice in the fantasy playoffs. This is slated to be the highest scoring game. The Bucks are even favored to win because they're at home. So you got Jameis Winston going against the Saints, Eli Manning going against the Cowboys. A little bit limited upside. Eli Manning has been kind of whack this year. I thought he would do better last week, and he did not. I mean, he just hasn't really put it together. I mean, basically a bust for people that drafted him as a top 10 quarterback. Carson Palmer surprised a little bit last week. He did pretty good. He has a good matchup again this week. And Colin Kaepernick, this is one of the best quarterbacks to start this week. And yeah, it has to be the absolute riskiest quarterback to also start this week. So, I mean, if you need a win and you have better options and you don't like to live on the edge, you're not the type of guy who likes to cliff dive or whatever they call it, skydive, you know, X sports and take risks with your life. If you're not that type of guy, you probably don't want to go with Kaepernick, because that's exactly what it is. You're playing with fire if you do start Kaepernick. But I do think he'll do great against the Jets. I think it's a great matchup. I think he'll do better. I think last week was a little bit of an anomaly. And I think probably the week before, when he balled out, was QB1 against the Dolphins, was actually a little bit of an anomaly as well. So we're expecting something in between, maybe like 19 fantasy points for Kaepernick going against the Jets. And he, you know, in case I didn't say it 3 times already, he is the starter for week 14 playing against New York Jets. We got Trevor Siemian going against the Titans. He is hurt, but he's expected to play. Brock Osweiler is horrible, but he has a good matchup. Tyrod Taylor, pretty good floor. Andy Dalton playing against the Browns. Joe Flacco playing against the Patriots. Last week was truly an anomaly where he balled out, was like the best fantasy quarterback last week. Somehow that happened, you know, there's always surprises. But they are expected to, the Ravens are expected to throw the ball, be down in the game, and have to come back in the fourth quarter. So we should see a decent amount of pass attempts for Flacco. Maybe he'll throw to Dixon and Dennis Pitta a few times in garbage time or in hurry-up offense in the fourth quarter. In deeper leagues, we have Alex Smith going against the Raiders Thursday night. Whoever the Jets quarterback is, which is actually just today was announced. Bryce Petty is the starter. Jared Goff going against the Falcons. Good matchup. Matt Barkley going against the Lions. Now, the Lions have actually been playing really good defense since week 8, I believe. I think it was the Texans game. They have really improved. Darius Slay's playing better. That D-line is playing better. This is a good team here. I mean, who would have thought Stafford, after losing Calvin Johnson and even Marvin Jones being banged up this year and Tate off to a slow start. Stafford, I think he's legitly in the MVP discussion. I don't think he'll win MVP. I mean, he won't, but he still is. I mean, he's leading his team to a division, potential division leaders, division win. This is a great story. Stafford wasn't that good last year with Megatron. So, and the Lions D, man, they're really helping out. Lions D's playing well, Stafford's playing well, and they're winning games. And RG3 might be coming back this week. For running backs, Ryan Matthews is expected to return really early. Rex Burkhead, not a guy I like, but he has the sweetest matchup going against the Browns, man. Should be really good. I think he gets a slight boost in PPR leagues now that Gio Bernard is out. He can catch a couple balls. I do like Rex Burkhead this week as a spot start. Adrian Peterson could be coming back. I don't think they're going to rush him back, and I don't think he's even going to play if the Vikings are out of contention. But just keep tabs on that. D'Angelo Williams should be coming back real soon. Same thing with Amir Abdullah. Kenneth Dixon, he's probably already picked up in a lot of leagues. I think now is the time to handcuff Alfred Morris, especially if you're playing Week 17 and Ezekiel Elliott's a little banged up, and they decide to rest him. Now, Jerry Jones said that the Cowboys, they don't plan to rest players, but like if they are on the fence, they're questionable, they're nowhere near 100%, they may rest them Week 17. For example, if that's a meaningless game. Now, that's what Jerry Jones said, and I mean, I'm not like I believe him, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. If what he said was, written in stone, then we would see Tony Romo playing right now. So, we can't trust everything. Like I said, I don't think he's lying, but hey, anything can happen. And definitely Alfred Morris could get a lot of touches Week 16 and 17. We don't know. Also, man, it's just a great handcuff. If Zeke goes down, your team will go down. So Alfred Morris, good handcuff there. Bilal Powell going against the Niners. Shane Vereen should be coming back. Pretty much a must pick up in deeper leagues and PPR leagues. A good stash to have. Not a lot of running backs out there. Charles Sims is coming back. Jalen Richard is okay. Derrick Henry, more of a handcuff. And this is a super duper super deep leagues, like at least 16 man, more like 20 man. We have Juwan Thompson, Justin Forsett, who I believe is signed by the Broncos. I have to double check that. And whoever's starting on the Jaguars, Sharkhandrick West, and I don't even know who this guy is, Tromaine Pope, the backup Seahawk running back to back up Thomas Rawls. For the Patriots, I think Malcolm Mitchell and Chris Hogan are must pickups now. It's 3 wide receiver sets. Danny Amendola is banged up. Gronk's out for the year. Martellus Bennett is hit or miss. Both these guys are must pickups. If you need a wide receiver, get one of those guys. Malcolm Mitchell, I like better. I mean, a little bit more risky, I'd say, but definitely the better wide receiver, building that chemistry. I really like Malcolm Mitchell. I talked about him last week, and I think I talked about him before as well. Ted Ginn Jr., he's basically one of the top receiving options there on the Panthers. They finally started using him. And he's been great ever since the second half of the season. He's just been awesome. Again, a guy I've talked about before in several videos. Brandon LaFell, I guess I like him slightly more than Boyd. Boyd is maybe a little better in PPR. LaFell is a little better in non-PPR. LaFell is the touchdown big play guy. Boyd's a little bit more of the possession receiver type of wide receiver. I picked up Alshon Jeffrey last week, and I'm not that high on him. I thought it was a good stash because I got the bye, I had a lot of bench room. I figured, if I get the bye, I don't need to worry about anything to do with week 14. So, I mean, he's got decent matchups. I mean, this is how I think. Alshon Jeffrey, at worst, is a good wide receiver 3, okay? So I think it added good depth on my team. I think this is a time where you pick up Alshon Jeffrey if you have a bye week like me, if you're not playing week 14, or if you have a deep bench and you can roster him. I think Alshon Jeffrey is a good add. I mean, he's going to be the best offensive player on that team other than Jordan Howard. So he's definitely worth an add. Like I said, at worst, wide receiver 3. Look at some teams, man. They have wide receiver 6s and wide receiver 5s on their team. Like, I mean, they're not even that good. So might as well get Alshon Jeffrey if you can. If like I said, if you got deep bench bye week, you can afford it. Some teams I see only have 3 bench spots. You probably don't want Alshon Jeffrey, especially if you're playing for a win this week. Check the status of Cecil Shorts and Adam Humphries. They are both hurt. Shorts is for sure out. I don't know about Humphries yet. So Russell Shepard, good feeling about this guy this week. Same thing with Taylor Gabriel. I mean, he's added in every league, unless you're super late. Julio Jones is slightly banged up, and I think Sanu is more hurt than Julio Jones. So Julio Jones expected to play. Sanu has a little bit higher chance of missing week 14. Look into that. If he's out, Gabriel is definitely worth a look at. And later I talk about other Falcons receivers. Those are in 20-man, 16-man deep leagues. Tyler Boyd already talked about. Anquan Bolden, the deal with him. Will Fuller, got a good feeling about him. Great matchup against the Colts. He can definitely catch a deep ball. Super risky though. If he doesn't get that 40+ yard reception, you basically have a dud on your hands. And so it is super risky, but I do like him. Great matchup. And Texans had... I think the Texans and Bucks probably had the 2 best schedules, as far as fantasy and real life goes. I mean, they had some really favorable schedules this year. We got Tyler Lockett, Dontrell Inman, Jermaine Kearse, Brian Quick with Tavon Austin hurt, but he should be back this week. Check on the status of Austin, though. Dorial Green-Beckham, Quincy Enunwa, Robbie Anderson. We saw him play a Monday night. Corey Coleman, Michael Floyd, Adam Thielen. And I mean, this is just super deep leagues here. Seth Roberts, Marquise Lee, Philip Dorsett, Justin Hardy, Aldrick Robinson, those 2 Falcon receivers. Only if the off chance both Julio Jones and Sanu are out. And I would put a 49ers receiver here, but who knows who's catching anything. Like I said, I like Kaepernick, but who he's going to throw to, I have no idea. I mean, this offense, the Niners offense is quarterback. The quarterback spreads the ball. It's like the Saints offense. He spreads the ball to everybody. But it's not as good though. So, I mean, with the Saints offense, you sometimes feel comfortable just picking one of the 3 receivers. I mean, like, hey, there's a good chance he's going to go off. With the Niners, it's not like that. There's a good chance that he's going to get you like 1 fantasy point or 2 fantasy points. So, I mean, good luck with all that. For tight ends, I want to pat myself on the back for being one of the only experts to rank Travis Kelce higher than Greg Olsen. Now, I still like Greg Olsen and everything, but Travis Kelce has become the best tight end in fantasy, folks. He's been really good. I'm really proud for drafting a guy like him. I think he has a really high floor. If you can get a touchdown, that's going to be a high ceiling. He doesn't get a lot of touchdowns, but man, he's been the #1 receiving option on the Chiefs. Little clap for me for my preseason rankings. Cameron Brate. Can you be surprised? I always talk about this guy. I'm so high on this guy. Ever since Austin Seferian-Jenkins was having issues and now he's off the team, I've liked Brate. I really like Winston. What a great real-life quarterback Jameis Winston is. And Cameron Brate is one of his top options there. He's at the top. Ladarius Green, really like him. Now, Brate is less risky, and I'd say he's probably better. Ladarius Green has a little bit more upside than Brate, but much more risks. That's why I had to rate Brate #1 on this list. I mean, he's probably owned in your league, but he's still half the league still don't own Cameron Brate, surprisingly. So you got Ladarius Green, CJ Fedorowicz, great matchup. Kobe Fleener, now that Josh Hill is out and may miss the entire rest of the season, I have to put Kobe Fleener out here. He's still a top 10 tight end. He's risky. You don't know how he's going to do. He's going to give you 3 fantasy points or 14 fantasy points. You usually have no idea. But, man, with all these tight ends, he's a top 10. That makes him a tight end 1. He should be picked up in every single league. I'll just run through the rest of these names. Zach Ertz, Jermaine Gresham, Vernon Davis, only if Jordan Reed is out. Dennis Pitta, sort of a fluke game last week, but I still think he'll be okay. Like we discussed this Patriots-Ravens game, and the Ravens will have to throw the ball in the fourth quarter. Dwayne Allen, Jack Doyle, Vance McDonald, Lance Kendricks, Charles Clay, Jared Cook, Antonio Gates, Gary Barnage, yuck. Austin Safari, this is only like super deep leagues. Will Tye, Austin Safarian-Jenkins, Hunter Henry, Deion Sims of the Dolphins, and AJ Derby. For defenses, there are actually a few good ones. None that like super stick out though. Like 2-3 weeks ago, I had some great streaming options that helped me too. But this week, if you're fortunate enough and the Bengals are available, definitely pick them up. They're playing the Browns. Should be a low-scoring game where the Bengals definitely get a victory by a whole touchdown, a 7-point victory or something like that is what I expect. The Lions going against the Bears. I just discussed the Lions. Their defense has been playing really good. Actually, there are some good options this week. And I like the Texans as a long-term option. Keep close tabs on Jadeveon Clowney, one of the best defensive players on their team now that J.J. Watt is out. He's been pretty good. And I like them week 15 and 16. They play the Jaguars, and I forget what other team. It's a good matchup, though. So when you play the Jaguars and another good matchup, 15 and 16, I added them on my team. I'm kind of desperate for a defense. I totally stream. Every week I stream. Last week I streamed the Packers D, and I also added the Texans D to bolster my team. Anticipating this bye week, which I luckily got. So Texans D is good for 15 and 16. I would only start them against the Colts if you're super desperate. This is not a defense you want to start this week. And this week, it's a must-win for everybody. If you're playing this week, it's a must-win for you. It's the playoffs. So I would not trust the Texans D unless you're in a deep league and that's your only choice. You could do much worse. So, I still say like, hey, it's okay to start them. I just don't trust them this week playing against the Colts. Deeper leagues and, more desperate streaming options. We have the Falcons. They're playing at LA against the Rams. The Rams scored no points. Then they're playing against the Niners. So that's cool deep league streaming option for week 14 and 15. We have Washington playing against Philadelphia. Jaguars playing against the Vikings. Vikings don't score any points at all. And this is a home game. Should be super low scoring, ugly, just like last week. And if Bortles doesn't throw a couple pick sixes, like you can count on him too. Gosh, that will be a good streaming option, but not one that that you want to rely on for sure with the pick sixes along the way. The pick sixes are coming when you start Bortles. I mean when Bortles is playing. When the Jaguars start Bortles is what I mean. You got the Colts going against the Texans. They don't score a lot of points. And then the Colts are going against the Vikings. This is again not a reliable one. And I just got word that DeQuell Jackson will be suspended. I want to double check on which games he'll miss. It seems like he's going to miss this coming game though. And basically the remainder of the regular season, I would imagine. This is a 4-game suspension for DeQuell Jackson, starting linebacker. Probably one of their better linebackers. But, man, that does take a small hit on them. 49ers going against the Jets. Titans going against the Broncos. And the Jets going against the Niners this week. Maybe they'll put in some effort this week, unlike last week. For kickers, Brandon McManus should be owned in just about every league. And the other ones is kind of closer. We have Phil Dawson. I like him this week. Great feeling about Phil Dawson this week going against the Jets. Josh Lambo should be owned in a good amount of leagues. Graham Gano, Robert Aguaye. I think Aguaye would probably be the number 1 ranked kicker on this waiver list if he can make field goals. I mean, the guy misses all the time. So if he was accurate, I would definitely put him number 1. So I think I still have to put him on this list. I would not be scared to start him if this was a like a 20-man league or something. We have Will Lutz. They play each other, the Bucks and the Saints. Mike Nugent, Kai Forbath playing against Jaguars. They allow the most points to kickers, so a good matchup for Vikings kicker Forbath. And Nick Novak. I do like him a lot. This week, next week, long term, I just don't think he has a lot of upside. They don't get in the red zone much. They don't get in, they don't move the ball well. That offense is just is kind of stagnant, the Texans, that is. So I don't like the upside there. I want a little bit of upside with my kicker. And those are all my waiver wire pickups for this week. I wish you guys all good luck in the playoffs. I wish me good luck in the playoffs. I hope I can win the Couch League. Make sure you like the video, hit that red subscribe button wherever it is. Hit that subscribe, like the video, leave a comment below. If you're a true Fantasy Couch fan, make sure you use hashtag AskTheBrain when you leave a comment, or hit me up on any social media, whether it be Instagram or Twitter or YouTube. Comment, of course. I'll see you guys on the next video.